Yes, Dr. Umar wanted to ask something. Please introduce yourself as well so that they know.
My name is Dr. Ammar. I am an internist in a very poor area where I practice medicine, like the old towns of the United States. Used to be the Saudi Arabia of the United States, but now it's just been ignored. So,
Where, may I ask?
in Chattanooga, Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, in the mountains of Kentucky. So my question as a progressive is that the way we started differentiating progressive between true and non-true progressives was the fact that Bernie Sanders stood up and he said he challenged the neoliberal agenda of progressives. Now that neoliberal agenda of progressives is what picks and chooses which Muslim country the women are to be targeted for not doing further. I mean, Saudi Arabia was like Iran for years, not a word.
Right.
Iran, women. So I think as a progressive, you should raise the issue of that in all Muslim movements. All Muslim countries where there are forces, whether it's Nigeria, targeting Iran means it's a neoliberal agenda. So this is one thing which I would say that if you truly do that, that also answers the question that he says that why do we have a Yugoslavia? I mean, why should we have 5 countries of Yugoslavia? We should have had Yugoslavia. So there should have been no Kosovo. It's all neoliberal agenda. And all that money, again, US businessmen are spending money out of this country to make money, and they're creating the havoc which brings immigrants here, which takes away the jobs over here, which creates Trump, and progressives don't know anything about it because they don't challenge it as a neoliberal agenda. So this is what I think needs to be done, truly, is that go ahead and challenge the neoliberal concept. And if you say that, no, I'm not just going to talk about Iranian women, I'm going to talk about all Muslim women and all countries where this is happening. Why did we talk about Saudi Arabia? That's when you'll be, I think, really hitting them on the head.
May I address this as an Iranian woman, if I may? So, the movement in Iran was a grassroots movement. It was a natural movement led by the women of Iran. We know that there are biases. There is, I will say this openly, there's apartheid happening in Palestine. Nobody talks about it. Right? We know that there are agendas all over. We know that sometimes our own progressives don't even talk about certain issues with regards to Palestine, right? But you're right, something happens with Iran, for example, everybody's up in arms. But the difference between this movement, and my mother lives there, my mom just actually recently came out here to visit my son for the very first time, after 5 years of being separated due to the Trump travel ban. When you speak to the people of Iran, they have gone through 40 years of oppression, right? As an Iranian American woman, it is my duty and it is my responsibility to uplift the voice of the women in Iran who are uprising saying we are tired of this. We do also know that because Trump pulled out of the JCPOA, he imposed secondary and unilateral sanctions on a country that has had 1,500 sanctions. Iran is the most sanctioned country in the world, right? So we know that pressure is making people hungry. People don't have access to the basic needs. There's inflation, so people rise up. But they're rising up to a government that has been choking them for 40 years under the name of Islam. That is not the Islam my family practices. My Islam tells me not to judge. How dare I tell somebody else whether to cover their hair or not, right? We already know Saudi Arabia is a flawed country. We will support their women. We as progressives have to support their women when they uprise. But the difference between this uprising that happened, and I get where your concern is coming from, but the movement in Iran is led by the people for the people, right? And I think what every Iranian has been saying, whether they live in the country or not, is that we want for imperial powers to stay away. We want for the imperial powers to let us have a pluralistic Iran where gays can walk around and be okay, where women can walk around without their hijab and still have the respect, right? And be free to do whatever they need to do. That's what the people of Iran are fighting for. Of course, the United States is going to hijack that. Of course, the Republican Party is going to hijack that narrative. But for me, it does, as an Iranian woman who was raised in an Islamic family, that doesn't matter because my people come first, right? So I'm now going to have to represent the women that are struggling in Iran, no matter what the We all know that.
And I want to clarify that by no means I wanted to undermine.
No, I know that, I know,
But
yeah.
on the other hand, if you would have been an Iranian woman just living in the United States, not running for office, that helped me very good. But if you are running for US office, then I think mentioning of other,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's all I'm.
100%.
Yeah, so thank you. I mean, let's go to other questions. Yeah, but you want to, yes, as an Iranian.
Very briefly.
Yes, please.
The movement for the liberation of oppressed people is intersectional, nonpartisan. So I'm empowered to speak about my people's struggle, but as a legislator, as an activist, I will always advocate for oppressed people.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say in our presentation, and I think Hani is touching on, is I can understand, we can uniquely understand this experience. And so when there are other oppressed groups, like the Black community right here, you know, we can understand a lot of the nexus between that oppression and to collectively address it together and voice it and draw attention to something.
That's a really important point.
Okay, so Dr. Aslan and then Sabahat. Please, Aslan, go ahead and then tell.
My name is Arsalan Malik. I'm a psychiatrist here in LA. Are you all of you running under the rubric of the Democratic Party?
Well, I'm not running, I'm
She's
I'm
advising.
a policy director.
Sure, but I'm asking these two guys.
Yeah.
Yes, I am, but I would like to point out that the Democratic Party is very angry at me for running because I am challenging an establishment Democrat in my seat. And that is a big no-no in Democratic Party politics, particularly here in California. My race is a little bit interesting because this incumbent is not the incumbent. His district got redistricted, it eliminated. Who? Doesn't matter, does it? His name is Josh Newman.
Forget about it.
Very friendly guy, corporate, moderate Democrat who takes a lot of money from fossil fuels. But that's neither here nor there, right? His district got eliminated in redistricting, and now he's running for the nearest by district, a district he has never represented before. He's never earned a single vote there, and the Democratic Party would like to coordinate him into the role. And I'm saying, well, not so fast. This is technically an open seat. Now, he's a Democratic incumbent, but not the Democratic incumbent. And because of that, we see a pathway to victory in terms of coming in the primaries and
I wish you the best of luck, but the reason I'm asking the question is because I see that a lot of progressives, even if they do get elected, once they are in power, they get co-opted by the establishment of the Democratic Party. We see that with the AOCs of this world and the Ro-Khanas and everybody like that. It seems like as soon as they pay the right lip service to these causes, but as soon as they are in positions of power, they do not use that position, that power, that influence to actually bring about change.
Yeah, so I love this question, and I feel like there were so many glasses of wine that I've had over the last 2 weeks as I was, traveling and talking about, the nature of our political system, the two-party system that we have in this country over the last couple of weeks. And I talk about this all the time as, as one of Bernie's top staffers, in Nevada, and as a progressive who's running in a red to blue district. And so I think that there's a couple of things, and just, pardon my, just sort of talking about political science in this way, but, the United States, at least for the last 40 years, our entire political spectrum has existed on the political right? With, most politicians, it's like, Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi, in any other political context, certainly the European political context, would be a center-right politician. So therefore, me as a Democrat, I'm not running, I would, in any other political society, I would not be in the same political party. Now, in this moment, over the past 10 years, what we're starting to see is the Democratic Party move in the leftward direction, right? And the renaissance of that movement began with Occupy Wall Street about 13 or 14 years ago. The organizers of Occupy Wall Street, after Occupy Wall Street kind of fizzled down, immediately formed Draft Bernie, which then brought Bernie. And all the same organizers that had started Occupy, then went with Bernie Sanders once, and then again, we're organizing, we got AOC in, in between 2 times, and then they got, and so today, what we end up having is this million-strong, intersectional, multi-generational movement, which continues to build power every single campaign cycle. And you can see it in cities like Los Angeles, and you can see it in the Congress. If you take a look, 5 years ago, we didn't have Ilhan Omar. We didn't have AOC. We didn't have Ayanna Presley, we didn't have a number, Rashida Tlaib.
But why don't
Cori
we
Bush.
fight for progressive policies like Medicare for all?
So I just want to, so here's the thing, right, is it takes critical mass, right? And so I personally know, and when I say personally know, it means like I sleep on the couch besties with like AOC's organizing director and a lot of like different folks, right? We're all on like a group chat in here, 50, 100 people like all around the country. We're Rashida Tlaib's person, this person's Cori Bush over here, and we're all talking and we're all strategizing. And there will be a day, right, when you're able to fully like be out there advocating for, social democratic policy and be a left of center political party. I would say 2 to 3 election cycles from now is when we're gonna fully be there. But I guess a way to think about it is like we're getting there. Step by step, coming together, organizing, we are getting there. And if you take a look at where we are today as opposed to 5 years ago, as opposed to 10 years ago, I would say we as the left, and I would imagine most people in here consider themselves to be on the political left that is calling out neoliberalism, that is actually there. I would say that we're getting very, very close. It's just we gotta stick in there, we gotta like donate to campaigns like Alex's or mine. We need to continue the fight. And yeah, I'll stop there, but I'm very interested in talking about how we're doing it. Because the district that I'm running in is a red to blue district.
That's what I wanted to actually get out, but yeah, you want to say something?
This is about the money.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's about the money. If you start your political career saying, I'm not gonna take any money from these special interests, which I know I've done, you've done, right? So you got these candidates, we're coming up, we're saying the system's broken, and we're gonna try to get elected, and we're gonna do it without taking money from the And we see some Democrats doing it. There was a class of Democrats that did it in 2018. They came, our AOC was one of them, right? They took no corporate PAC money. They came in without this influence. That's how you know who is beholden to whom. Now, it's incredibly hard to get elected without that money. People have actually told me, you're gonna get crushed. There's no way you're gonna get elected unless you take police association money in this district. And I have to believe that that's not true. I think that's an old paradigm. It's gatekeeping. Hamid spoke very well about the endemic racism and white supremacy in this world, and that's part of it. The way that these campaigns are funded and the way that these campaigns are the contribution infrastructure is set up is meant to keep people like me out of office. So I think that part of your frustration is about the fact that governing probably is different than campaigning, and once someone like AOC gets in, she has to represent a lot of constituents, and we'd love to have them be totally pure, but in some ways they've got to make some compromises in order to get outcomes for their
Thank you. Yeah, you want to say something, Hamid?
No, I just, I think one thing to recognize also here very quickly is that, for the first time, and I say this because I brought, Palestine up, right, just recently. For the first time a few years ago, we had people talking about the plight of Palestinians, on the House Congress, on the floor.
That's a big thing.
Right, it is a huge thing. Now you have Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders sponsoring and co-sponsoring legislation that says condition aids to a country that's committing, atrocities, killing Palestinians. There's no one holding them accountable. So I think these conversations are being had, but to their point, again, I always say this as someone who's ran campaigns before, as someone who's organized before, has done policy before. If we do not put our money and donate into electing these campaigns, these folks that there's very limited people that we have in Congress right now, we're on the right side of history, they're not gonna have allies or enough votes to get to pass legislation through, right? To get to their mission. So this is why it is so important for us to say, you know what, I'm not gonna care. I'm going to give and I'm going to volunteer this time around. Right? So we can have these two in Congress, or we can have other up and coming progressives in Congress, because you cannot do anything on a congressional campaign or a state Senate campaign, or even a city council campaign without advertisement, without text banking, and all of that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's so expensive.
It is expensive.
It's so expensive, and sorry,
Yes.
it's so expensive, and so in order to send mail, right, I have to contact in my district, I have 1 million people in my district, but in order to win a primary in my district, I gotta get 75,000 voters to come out and be in a primary. to send mail to 75,000 voters. That's $250,000. That's just for mail. That's just for mail.
Unbelievable.
If we create progressive infrastructure where everybody in this room gives $50, that builds an ocean, in my the Persian expression, have easy, penny, whatever.
Put a penny aside, you can, you know.
A penny a day creates an ocean, right?
Yes.
That's also part of the equation. And I think
Well,
it's-
we give an ocean to Bernie, and that whole ocean right in front of our eyes. I don't know when.
But we can't
So,
make our
But we-
I think we can continue for the entire day talking about the US, broken US system, but let's go back to Sabahat has a question on.
Let me just build up on that. I don't think Bernie is a failure, like
Oh.
Hamid said.
Yes.
As Hamid said, 5 years ago, nobody would say socialist
May I request that we focus on how these guys are doing their campaigns